Hello and welcome to episode 17 of Rival Banter. I'm one of your hosts, Luke Croft. Joining me, as always, my esteemed co-host and fifth in line for the U.S. presidency, Seth Martin.
It could be me.
So close. What would be your first act as president?
We're just gonna repeal
Like everything
shit.
that's been going on?
We'll just drain the swamp, start from the top. Somebody else said that, didn't they? Maybe that's not what I want to do. Who knows?
Yeah, might want to try a different angle than drain the swamp. We're coming at you a day later than usual here on Rival Banter. Sorry about that for those of you who might have been waiting for a new episode to drop, but I work at a video game studio, and the game I've been working on for the last year released yesterday. And because of that, I was very, very busy, and I texted Seth. I said, Seth, my friend, can we move this a day? I'm so tired.
He said it. He said it just like that.
And he said, of course, my love, anything for you.
Yep, verbatim.
And then he sent me 40 pictures of himself nude.
Hey, whatever puts the asses in the seats.
That's right. That's right. But yeah, this is Rival Banter. We get together every week over here on twitch.tv/itishoagie, and we talk about all things Marvel Rivals. And then we push it out on podcast services and YouTube everywhere the very next day. And wherever you're listening to us, make sure you're hitting that follow button and leaving comments and all that sort of stuff. And we might respond to your comments like we're going to do here in just a little bit. But yeah, you can also find us on social media on Instagram and TikTok at Rival Banter. Very easy. But Seth, how's your week going, my friend? I haven't talked to you this week.
Good. Yeah. I know you've been busy with your game launch. I've been like busy, but not busy. I've been summer busy for a teacher. So
I've just been playing Doom for 40 hours.
Well, no, I would be done with it if I had 40 hours. But I've been chipping away at that. Of course, I've been doing my share of fuck all, but I've also I do like some part time stuff here and there. I have professional development all day today. We had karate practice, not my karate. I'm not a karate master. My children want to be karate masters one day. So just the ins and outs of adulthood. But it's been a good week overall. But, doing that. Been working on throwback action Zelda the Wind Waker. I never had a GameCube, and so now that they're starting to add those games to the Switch 2 library. I was like, you know what? I missed Wind Waker, and it always looked so cool. So I'm gonna just dabble around in that. So have had that going on. I've had Doom going on, and of course I've had Rivals going on too. I've been loving Jeff, dude. I played with some of my esports kids last night, and I was MVP every game, baby. It felt good. Maybe not every game, but most of the games. So yeah, it just felt good to flex on those kids for a little while.
I want to backtrack in this conversation to the karate.
hmm
Who's the oldest person you've seen walk in there in a gi?
The kids tend to be pretty separate from like the adult sessions. And I think they're mostly on different days too. But I've seen adults, and there's nothing wrong with this at all. Like I've been surprised at the age of some of the people that like walk in, and they're super early for their practice, like later hours away in the evening, and they'll stop and bow as they enter, um, like the studio floor. And I'm just like, oh, okay. I'm guessing they're working on their karate masterhood as well. And so, I would say that guy was like 40 some, which, cool, good for him.
More power to him, I guess. Yeah.
As long as he's not fighting the children, that's all that I'm there. Have you ever seen that Seinfeld episode?
No, I haven't.
Oh God, it's classic.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, whatever makes you happy or whatever. If karate's your thing, have at it. But yeah, not my thing, definitely. As you can see, my office is a disaster zone because I am in the process of getting ready to move. I will be on the road to the East Coast a week from tomorrow. So,
Mm.
so we are getting down to the wire, and the walls are closing in on me, man. There's just boxes everywhere. The house is a disaster. It's like a bomb went off in here, man. It's horrible. So I'm ready to move and not deal with the boxes for a little bit.
How are you gonna get that cat across the country?
We are going to put him in a crate,
Mm.
and he's going to stay in the hotel with us. And we went to the vet, and they gave us a bunch of sedatives. they were
Okay, right on.
they were like, for a cat, it's probably best to just give him one of these in the morning, let him sleep his way across the country, and then
Mhm.
we are like, all right, fair enough. We shall do that. That sounds good enough to us. So
He did it before, right? I mean, he
he
can.
flew. He flew the last time,
Gotcha,
dude.
gotcha.
That was so. So we had two cats. We now have one cat because the other cat passed away shortly after we spent a lot of money to fly his ass out here. But yeah, we used like a service. So yeah, they had to stay with some friends of ours while we moved out here, and then we paid a service that like picks them up, takes them to the airport, gets them like through security and whatever they got to do while they're there, and then they like fly on the cargo hold. And then I had to go to SFO in San Francisco to pick them up, and
Mm.
yeah, they were pissed. They had no clue what was going on. They were just in a dark
I'm sure, yeah.
airplane hole.
Poor
So,
babies.
not that he's gonna he has the mental fiber to make these connections, but if he could, I'm sure he'd be much more grateful that we're driving him back across the country rather than making him fly again. So,
Yeah, you think he was up there just like,
so so when we found him, we found him when he was like a kitten. He was like a few weeks old, and he meowed the whole way, the whole 3 hours from Charlotte to Martinsville when we were moving, when we were bringing him home because we found him in Charlotte, and
Mm.
yeah, when we moved from Modesto down here to LA, meowed the whole way there too. So without these sedatives, he was probably going to meow all 40 hours across the country. I'm sure he meowed the whole time up in the air too while he was flying. So I am sure he did. But enough about that, Seth. Let's talk about Marvel Rivals. How about that?
Oh, that could be cool.
All
Could
right.
be an adventure.
Let's get into some of the comments that we received last week on the show. And if you guys want your comments read on the show, make sure you're leaving them on YouTube or on Spotify or on Instagram or TikTok, wherever you're watching us. And we'll start with our Spotify comments. This first one is from Clayton, and I'm going to read this. I'm going to understand very little of it, and so I'm going to rely on you, Seth, to decipher it for me. He says, what are your guys' thoughts on the lore revealing that Null and potentially Jean Grey are coming next season? I think if the new map revolves around Null attacking the X Mansion in order to get Jean/Phoenix before she gets to him, could be a really cool time with the map getting more and more symbiotified as they push their way into the halls and down into the danger room. And then Blade can be the mid-season hero just because he's cool as fuck. That's from Clayton over on Spotify.
Clayton, I like your style, dude. Yeah, that would be awesome. I definitely dig the idea that they are leaning into. Of course, they've mentioned Null before. Like, of course, like the whole Clintar map is, you're driving his essence toward whatever that means. Sounds gross, but whatever. You're pushing his essence. You're escorting his seed or whatever it is across the map. His big
You're making it
googly
sound worse.
whatever. Yeah, I didn't make the game. So you're pushing this big sperm cell across the map, and
You're helping Noel come.
so I'm saying it without saying it, but anyway, he's been mentioned. He's in this universe, and that's awesome. I love how thorough they are, how deep they are. And it seems like they're only, just diving more and more into deep cuts, which is great. Not that Noel's really a deep cut, but he's not, anywhere near the. I guess he was in that Venom movie, which is MCU adjacent, but whatever.
He's no Spider-Man.
Still, he's no Spider-Man. He's no Hulk. He's no Thor. So, yeah, this will be awesome. I think we've mentioned before the idea of how cool it will be to have a map based around the X Mansion, and yeah, this will be awesome to kind of see it progressively get more symbiotified as as you progress throughout the map. Or I guess it could kind of go the opposite way, and maybe it's already taken over by a symbiote, and you're kind of like cleansing it as you
Mm.
go through, or something like that. So all kinds of ways they could go. I love this idea. I can't wait to see like, if Jean Grey is the character they add. Like, holy crap, that would be awesome. I can only imagine her old having to do something with like just her phoenix power, just flaming and birding and whatever. Um, and yeah, no, I think there's if they were, I doubt they would add Null as a character. I'm kind of imagining he would be more like
Like Doctor
kind of
Dooms.
how, yeah, or like Dracula when they dropped the Dracula map. Like he's there, he's in the cutscenes as the if you call them cutscenes, whatever, as the as the match begins and ends. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to see what they do with this. Jean Grey would be awesome. Blade would be awesome. I like it.
I mean, the X Mansion and Danger Room, you know me, I've been talking about that being added into the game for a long time. So that idea speaks to me. And the idea of it being like an escort map where you're kind of going through the halls of the mansion is really cool to me. So, Clayton, as much as I can relate to anything lore related, I'm not the lore guy on the show. I like this as well. Next comment is from
Don't you
22TKGOYPJM2TEEWLZBZEGUWSA.
dignify them by reading that need? They know what they did.
Too late. I already did. It
Uh,
says Rivals has an insanely toxic community, and I pray it's not what ends up killing the game. A large part of it is the Marvel IP and what that brings with it, unfortunately. I've dealt with it all. People throwing because they didn't get the character they wanted or because they didn't like the team comp. People just blasting their teammates because they aren't getting heals even though they are getting healed. It's extremely toxic. I think there needs to be more severe bans put in place. And then Nicole 22 follows up with a similar comment and says, I really hope Rivals implement stricter punishments for toxicity. I used to give the excuse that all games are like this, but Rivals has made me turn off chat so many times, and I hate doing that. Thoughts on that, Seth?
yeah, I mean, I'm sure we're going to get into some of that stuff a little bit with some of the topics we've got later in the show today too. But yeah, I mean, it is, as we've said before, it's of course a huge problem. It's well, I don't want to. I feel like anything I say now is just going to come up again later. But yeah, I definitely agree. It is something like there's got to be something more that NetEase can do to mitigate just kind of like the foul experience that some people have. They've made such a wonderful game, and I hate to see it dragged down by assholes, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree in principle with a lot of these things. I think some of it is just kind of comes with the territory. Um, when it comes to games like this, I think there's just a certain amount of it that you're never going to be able to escape from, especially in a game like this where you're so dependent on the decisions that other people are making, whether it's the characters they pick or the positioning that they take or just grouping up for a team fight or when they use their ult. Like, there's so many impactful decisions that you're relying on other people to make to be successful in the game that like it's always going to lead to some level of toxicity. I think just because human beings are playing the game and a lot of human beings are assholes. But I do agree that I think there should be stricter punishments and stuff like that. But I'm also with Nicole. Like I turn the chat off quite often in the game too because it just gets overwhelming and frustrating to deal with. Now, I will say this: you and I play a lot more. I mean, we play on console when we're playing ranked, and so I think that spares us from a lot of the more direct kind of toxicity where we don't have to play with any PC players when we're playing ranked, which is
Hmm.
where the real toxicity would come out.
It's still bad enough as
Yeah,
it is, I think, without that. But yeah, not everybody on consoles got a keyboard plugged up to their PS5.
yeah, for sure. And then Jalen 216 Macaque 7 says, I was this is a reply to a video about one tricking. He says, I was a one trick Jeff in season 0 because he was the easiest to play. And this is my first PC game I've played. Season 1 came and I one tricked Invis until 1.5, and I started learning other supports. Now in 2.5, my mains are Invis, Cloak and Dagger, Rocket, Luna, and Jeff. And since 1.5, when I started learning more than just one character, I've grown significantly. And this is exactly what we're talking about, right, Seth? Like you you grow as a player, you become more successful as a player when you have more characters in your pocket to be able to pull out in different situations and scenarios. But I think something else that kind of goes underappreciated when you can play multiple characters within your role is there are certain characters that require different skills mechanically that help to improve that skill that might not be quite as necessary for the other characters that you play, right? So, when you're thinking about a character like Jeff, who especially like pre-rework Jeff was very dependent on like his ability to move around and use his movement skills to get in and out of where he needed to be a lot quicker and to be able to survive, right? And it's like if I'm just one tricking like Adam Warlock, who doesn't have any real movement abilities, right? Then I'm probably not thinking about my positioning and how I'm, moving in and out of fights. But if I'm playing Jeff, I now am like creating those pathways in my synapses of my brain to like
Mm.
understand how my movement leads to success with my character, so that when I do play Adam now, I'm thinking about my movement even if I don't have as many abilities to do those things. And so I think it helps you grow in a multitude of ways when you're playing multiple characters within a role.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, it's easy enough to diss one tricks, and like it's at a point it's a problem. But when you're starting out the game, like yeah, you got to learn one character. Like take it slowly. It's hard to learn 10 different things at one time. So yeah, I think everybody it's like when they first start out is going to be a one or two trick pony. And then, like the idea is that as you continue to play the game, you grow in your relationship with the game, and that probably sounded weird too, but whatever. I'm on one tonight. And then you just kind of become better and better, and you kind of understand the game a little bit more. Like for example, I'm playing with the kids last night, kind of like you're talking about with Jeff. I'm playing. He is, I feel, a little slower than he used to be since the update. Of course, he puts out more damage. His healing output is off the charts now compared to what it used to be. But I feel like he's slowed down. It's not as easy to get him kind of in and out of the back line. And so if you've got an Iron Man or somebody with burst damage, it's kind of hard to get away from them. And so in that case, if you're not able to hop off of support, it will be nice to have somebody who, again, maybe is if they're not as maybe they can dodge a little bit better. Maybe they can go invis like Cloak and Dagger, just so that has some better escapability, or just some more power in general, or like the ability to counter another character. So, yeah, the more you know the game, the better you're going to be. But if you're um, allured with like twice over on one character, and you have like one other character who's a knight, you probably are ready to move on at that point.
Hmm. Yeah. And also like just jumping to a new platform with like if you were always a console player and like Marvel Rivals was your first PC game, absolutely one tricking is the way to go. Like it removes a variable like having to learn mouse and keyboard, and now you're not having to like jump between multiple different characters. Like I think that's a totally viable path forward and reasonable to like learn it how to play on a new system. So yeah, appreciate the comments, everybody. Keep them coming, and we will reply to more in next week's episode. Speaking of next week's episode, next week is going to be a normal week's episode. We will do the news, we'll do a topic, we'll do all of those kinds of things. But we're also going to be recording a second episode next week because I'm going to be on the road traveling across the country for my move the following week, and we don't want to leave you guys without our sexy voices in your ears, right? So
Mhm.
what we ask of you for next week is to give us your Marvel Rivals hot takes, because we're going to do a standalone episode where we're just going to react to your hot takes about Marvel Rivals. So let us know, what are your thoughts, whether it's about one tricks, it can be about ranked, it can be predictions that you have about modes that are coming to the game, about characters that you hope to see, whatever it is, give us your opinions about the game, your hot takes, and we're going to respond to those in not next week's episode, but the following week's episode. So make sure you get those in, leave a comment on wherever you're seeing this video, and we will put those in the queue for us to react to for that episode. Seth, what did you get up
Talk to
to
me.
this week in Marvel Rivals?
I think we kind of addressed it at least a little bit already. Just a lot more quick play. Haven't really dabbled around. I just, just the time is short. As far as comp goes, I would love to get back in there, at least get back into Plaid, but for before the season's over. But time keeps ticking. I'm just having so much fun. Like it just so much more relaxed of a time in quick play. And like I'm still playing the game, and I think I'm playing it better than I've ever played before. But just kind of without the pressure or kind of concerning myself with my elo. So I'm totally cool with where I'm at with the game right now. Working on Mag and Jeff primarily right now, just kind of like flexing between tank and support still, and just working on my battle pass challenges. I've of course finished the pass now. I'm on to looking forward to this Venom thing we're about to talk about here in a little bit, and yeah, just again it's so many reasons to check in every day with this game, and I'm loving it.
Yeah, I've been playing a lot more quick play than ranked too, and I think you and I have maybe different reasons that we do that, because I think for you it's probably more pressure you're putting on yourself to like win and you know like reach your goals or whatever, and that's like part of it for me too, right? It's like I hate losing in ranked and whatever. um but it's also just I get really tilted when toxic people pop up in ranked for some reason, and like it really kind of sours my mood with the game, and you have much less chance of running into that when you're playing quick play, right? So um that's one of my
It still
reasons.
happens weirdly enough, but
Yeah.
that's when you just got to get in the chat and say like, "Stop sweating. Here's a towel." Um, I don't know.
Yeah, I think my PlayStation knows I'm about to type "it's QP chill"
Hmm.
because I've typed it so many times in quick play, but it just rolls off my back a little easier when I'm playing quick play than it does in ranked. Like it kind of sticks in my crawl when somebody gets a little out of line in a ranked game.
Yeah, we can't have stuff in the crawl.
Yeah, but I did get that Emma Frost Lord, which I feel really good about. My first tank Lord.
Crystal Mummy.
So that's now my fourth Lord, and I'm still dangerously close on the Moon Knight. I just don't play him enough to get it. I think I'm like 500 points away or whatever from getting the Moon Knight. The Moon Knight only comes out now when we have 4 DPS locked in, and I'm like, all right, I guess I'm going fifth.
Might as well at that point, yeah.
But who knows? After we talk about this buff here in just a second, I might play some more Moon Knight. But yeah, played some more Ultron's Battle Matrix Protocol, and I'm having more fun with. I've been having fun with it since it launched. I do think the games are really long, to the point where like I get done with one and I'm like, I don't really know if I want to commit to another 40 minutes for another one, just because they're not dynamic enough in the same way that like a TFT was, where it's like, hey, I'm totally switching comps like midway through the game or whatever. Like you don't have that real freedom in this mode to do that, so I'm not finding it as engaging to play. But I do think that this is going to be a mode that NetEase sticks with, and it's for this reason and this reason alone. Seth, when we get to the top of the news every week, what is always the first thing that we talk about? It's always the new skins that come out, right?
Yeah, yeah. I was about to say skins.
And
I had to go back and look at the show notes.
and whenever we see a cool skin for a character like Hela or something like that, what do we say? We say, man, that's a cool skin, but I'm never going to get it because I don't play that character, right?
Hmm.
But Ultron's Battle Matrix Protocol is cool because unlike TFT, your characters in the game are equipped with the skins that you have equipped for them in the game. So as you unlock stuff and equip it onto those characters, that's the skin that they're wearing in game. So like the way it worked in TFT is each season would have like a theme and the characters in the game would wear the skin that matched that theme. But I think that NetEase is kind of setting this up as realizing like, hey, there's a lot of one tricks in this game, or a lot of people that play like 2, 3, 4 characters. We need to give them a reason to want to own more skins for different characters. And one way to do that is give them this Battle Matrix protocol mode where you're going to be confronted with playing comps of all different kinds of characters. And now you want to make your characters look really cool. Cause like, look, I'm not a big Thing player in the game, but I use Thing a lot in Ultron's Battle Matrix protocol call. So I bought that, Future Foundations package with him and Invisible Woman.
No,
And
good for you. That's next on my list, I think.
because I was just like, hey, I can at least see that skin in game, and it was like 50% off the bundle or whatever. So I was like, I'm losing money if I don't buy this.
Yeah, I maybe I haven't really touched it since that first day. I just haven't really had the urge to go back or the time really to go back. And yeah, it's cool that they do that. They use your skins for your team. I just don't know that matters to me as much. I feel like you're not as up close and personal with them. You're kind of looking at them from afar in some ways. But you can get down there if you want to, get down and dirty with the team. So I don't know. I mean, that's one way of looking at it, I guess. Why not?
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily something that's going to like convince somebody to play the game, right? I don't think anyone's going to be like, hey, I want to use more skins. I'm going to play this. But I think if it's something that you're into, like the game
Mhm.
mode itself, you're going to be a little more open to purchasing skins for characters that you might not necessarily play in the base game, or you're going to care about the skins at least more. So I think it's a smart move on NetEase's part, the way that the way that they decided to do that. I could tell when I was talking about it, you were unconvinced
Yeah, yeah, and it's just not my
though.
style, I guess. But I appreciated it when I played it. It's just not really how I want to spend my time, and I've made peace with that. Now, if they were to drop some banger skins as rewards, I would be a little more inclined to. But I just don't really care enough for the emotes and the sprays, or whatever the rewards were for this event this time.
I so we got some comments about that on because one of our most popular shorts from last week was about uh the mode not having a tutorial and stuff like that. And um a lot of people were like, I get what you're saying, Seth, of like, I would be more incentivized to play this thing if the rewards were better, which I think is a different sentence than you're telling me I have to play the game for 40 minutes and all I'm going to get is this stupid emote or this stupid like emoji or whatever. Like, I'm trying to be nuanced here, right? Like, there's this weird, I don't know, man. Maybe this is going to make me sound old, but I just didn't get anything when I played Sonic the Hedgehog 2 on Sega Genesis when I was a kid, right? Like, you just played the game and it was fun and you beat it and then you went on. Like, I don't remember this mindset that like I had to receive something after playing the game. And what you're saying is they're offering me something and it's not quite good enough to incentivize me to want to play it. And I think that's totally valid. Whereas some of the comments I was seeing were like, you're telling me I have to play this thing for this long and I'm only going to get this stupid thing. And it's like, wait a minute. You don't have to do anything. And getting the thing is just a bonus. Like you're just playing a game and that's cool.
Yeah, I would get it I would get kind of the ire a little bit more if something bigger were locked behind it, like a lure card or something like that, something that goes in your gallery for the season pass. Um, it doesn't do that though, so I don't feel like I have to play it. And I'm kind of making my peace with that. It's probably the reason that they haven't put a banger skin behind it,
Mhm.
because there's kind of a time wall that people would have to break through in order to get that. So I don't know. I mean, could be cool to see them try it. They've released other skins before. Apparently, don't they have like tournament skins that are exclusive to tournament players who do so well or something like that. Is that really a thing?
I don't know. I haven't seen them if they do,
I,
but
no, I don't know if that was. I've seen something about it before, but who knows if it's an AI hoax or whatever. But stuff like that. Like I saw what looked like some cool ass skins, and I'm like, well, that's awesome, but it's not really incentivizing me to go out and meet strangers to play this game competitively with to have a full six stack. So it is what it is. It's like you said. There's a point. There's I think something to that. It's a game. Your main goal shouldn't be. It's not the real world. Your main goal shouldn't necessarily be. I have to get all of this stuff.
mhm.
Um, it should mainly be enjoying the game. And I think it's easy in this day and age, just in gaming, especially in general, or any virtual space. Fortnite, of course, is like the case in point, right? Like people have this library of stuff that is not real, but exists on a server somewhere in Raleigh, North Carolina, or wherever their servers are. And like, okay, that's awesome. Like that you can do that. I could not imagine the customization that we have in games today. Even 10 years ago, much less like 20 when we were playing Sonic the Hedgehog or Mario 64 or whatever it was, right? So it's awesome to be able to appreciate that and to have it, but also at the end of the day, like if if something sucks, don't play it. Like don't feel
Mhm.
like you have to do this thing.
Yeah, we kind of cross this threshold where it's just like an expectation. It's almost like you're exchanging your time for the thing, and it's like you're exchanging your time for the entertainment that you're receiving from the thing, and the reward is the bonus
Mhm.
on top of the entertainment that you're receiving from it. And but
Yeah, it's another dopamine hit to get people, and like that's got its value, it's got its merit, but like don't is that emoji really going to be worth it? Is that mood indicator really going to get you that high off your dopamine in your brain? I don't know, but I got my doubts.
yeah, I don't know. Do games like this have completionists? I'm sure they do, but
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm I mean, in some ways, I'm one like last night. I was looking through my achievements in the game, not my PlayStation achievements, but like the ones in the actual game where you get rewards for them. So I was trying to like get as many units as I can. I think I've maxed out the units I can get for right now and all the achievements. I've only got a few left, but one of them I weirdly didn't have was I'm missing some of the gallery cards for the first, like not season one, but I guess season zero, the Doctor Doom,
mhm.
whatever it was called. And I'm like, "Oh, I finished that pass. What happened?" And apparently I missed, I guess, a couple of events. May have been when I was in the hospital or something like that. But I'm like, What happened here?" And the good news is you can buy those missing cards to get those lore cards or story cards, whatever you call them.
Mhm.
And they're like $3. It's not a huge difference. And I was looking at those like, well, I could have that story. I can just like spend a weekend one day catching up on Marvel Rivals lore, like just getting into the nitty gritty. I'm gonna buy that if I have to, whenever that day comes. But for right now, I'm gonna hold off for skins. But yeah, to get back to the point, I mean, that was me, and I like to think I'm pretty level-headed about this kind of stuff. I know lots of people aren't, for better or for worse, and I could see somebody like, oh, I've got to get that emote. I've got to get that thing. I'm probably never gonna use it, but I want it in my bank. And again, like if I know that I've done that, I'm sure that there are people out there who are like just tenfold doing the same kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, I guess. So maybe there are people who are like every single week when the new skin drops, like regardless, like I'm gonna drop that $24 or whatever, like on this thing, even if it's not my main. But I don't relate to those people at all. So if that's you, I'm very curious to hear from you. And because I get what you're saying too, like with you, Seth, like you like to earn the stuff that's in the game, but you're not going in there every week and like buying the shit that's dropping in the store.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've got to really love it to do that, or I'm not gonna buy it. Like I said, not. It could have it could happen, but usually I'm gonna try to kind of offset that with units or something like that, or at least I'm not spending $30 on a bundle, but maybe I'm spending 5, 8, 10, or something like that.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of skins, let's move on to the news, Seth, and talk about the new skins that are coming to the game this week. We've got an Iron Fist and a Moon Knight skin. I feel like we haven't seen a Moon Knight skin in ages. But the Iron Fist
Yeah.
Binary Fist and the Moon Knight Phoenix Knight skins coming to the game. The Binary Fist looks a lot like the mag skin that we got in the chest that we did.
Hmm.
And then I don't even know what this Phoenix Knight skin looks like. It looks like a Power Ranger to me.
Yeah, I guess it's supposed to be they kind of go a lot. It's kind of hard to tell with like the flaming fist or whatever, but it kind of has that cyborg thing going on. Makes me think of the mag skin from this season, the Hawkeye skin. I'm guessing were those skins named with like
Oh
binary as
yeah,
well
they
in
are.
them?
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, I'm guessing that goes along with that. And then, like you said, the Moon Knight one looks kind of like that Adam Warlock skin. But that's at least what I'm thinking. Like the mask, like the red
Mm,
one from the first
yeah.
battle pass, or maybe it was the second. Who knows?
Yeah. These are cool. I'm trying to think. Do I have a? Oh, I have the Black Moon Knight skin. Um, but I don't play him enough for this to really motivate me. And I don't play Iron Fist enough in Ultron's Ultron's Battle Matrix Protocol to buy that skin either. So maybe the mode isn't working. I don't know. Um, but those are cool. Let's move on to we'll come back to the balance changes because I want to talk about this event. I feel like you know more about this event than I do, Seth. But we've got a limited time event, Venom's Bubble Pop, coming to the game. The patch notes say the Venom's Bubble Pop event burst onto the scene. Complete event missions to earn rewards, including the Human Torch Future Foundation costume, absolutely free. Unlock the premium edition to claim even more rewards, such as the Venom Pink Bubble costume. Plus, once you unlock premium, you gain permanent access to the event until all rewards are claimed. No time limit. Have they revealed everything that's in this?
I don't know about everything. They did in the video I saw. They showed at least like one. I'm guessing it's a pretty short, kind of like the pickup bundle they did with Orange Venom before.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like it was because this was the slide that had Human Torch or that scan at the end of the road or whatever. Um, and so I'm guessing, yeah, I don't know that they like specifically named everything. I was trying to remember. I haven't gone to look back to it yet, but in that video, and I'm sure there's a screenshot somewhere of it, but there was a green token on it, and they didn't mention the green token, but I'm trying to remember. It was were the costume
Mm-hmm.
tokens green as well.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that we're getting another one of those. And then again, they mix it up a little bit, or at least add. It was nice to see they still had a lot of the skins last time they did this from the first time they did it, but they at least added, like they almost snuck that Gladiator Hulk skin down at the bottom of the list. It was on like a page all by itself. So it would be nice to maybe have something additional on there. I'm hoping for Multiverse Strange, but who knows?
I got you, Seth. Here we go. You can't see this, so I'll read it out for you. This is from the Marvel Wiki. So there's a free track and a premium track, and there's 7 missions. So the free track is going to get you 2 sprays, 2 nameplates, 2 emotes, and the Future Foundation costume. And then the premium, on the first mission, you're going to get the pink bubble Venom skin. You're going to get an emoji bundle for Venom. You're going to get a pink bubble nameplate. You're going to get the emoji, another bundle of emojis. You're going to get the pink bubble spray, the tickle me pink emote, and then yes, you are going to get a costume coin at mission 7. So that is everything that will be in this, and it's going to be 490 lattice, which is the gold currency that we couldn't remember the name of last week.
Ah, yeah, for Larry, right?
Yes.
Mm.
So yeah, another
Oh,
costume
it was in
coin
the
is
show
cool.
too.
What's that?
Yeah, I think we. I couldn't remember the show too. Could we?
Yeah, no, we couldn't.
Yeah, my
uh,
bad.
but yeah, I'll end up buying this. I mean, I don't really play Venom. Are we just gonna have a rainbow cacophony of Venom skins?
I wouldn't hate it. I saw somebody on social media like saying the green's got to be next, like it's coming, and they had like a mock up for it. I would love it. I'm gonna get around to maining Venom one day. Just it's bound to happen at some point. Yeah, and it'll be great to have all this stuff for him when I get around to him. So yeah, I love this. I know people were kind of in their feelings about not having a Human Torch. Like it was driving some people crazy. At least I know this from talking to some of my kids. Like that we had 3 Future Foundation skins, but not the 4th one yet. And I'm like, well, technically you only had 1 for like a week, and then we got 2 at the same time. Like hold on to your butts. He's coming, and here he is. Like lo and behold, right?
Well, isn't
Um,
Spider-Man technically the fourth Future Foundation of the Fantastic Four also?
I think there are different versions, or maybe it changes like throughout time, or depending on the story or whatever. Y- the one that I'm like, I've been going back and reading some of an arc right now, and the one that I'm reading from like 2014, they're pretty much like the Fantastic Four take the Future Foundation, like some like a group of kids. They're super powered kids that are really smart. They want to take them on a big space field trip, and so they choose some people to kind of be them while they're away. And in that arc, it's like She-Hulk, somebody else whose name I forget, um, and I forget 2 other people. But yeah, in some version of it, Spider-Man is in there as well. So Marvel's a lot. It's a lot to keep track of.
Mhm.
But um, yeah, so I wouldn't be shocked to see one of those pop in. And if we ever get She-Hulk, I'm sure we'll get one of those too.
Yeah. Well, and Spider-Man is the fourth one that they showed in the original Future Foundation like image with the other 3.
Mm.
So yeah, I was a little surprised when they showed the Human Torch one. It also looks a little bit like um the season, was it season 1.5 uh like gold rank skin. You know what I'm talking about? Like the one you got for Human Torch when if you got to gold rank, except all the parts that are white are black on that costume, I think.
Yeah, yeah. So it's hard to tell with like I feel like that's kind of a jip in some ways. Like he's just on fire, and so like you can't really see his skin all that well. I'm looking. I just went to Wikipedia for the first time, and I'm thinking that I'm like 1 arc ahead of where I should be in on Marvel Unlimited with the Future Foundation. I probably need to go back to 2010, so maybe that's going to be my
Mm,
homework for tonight.
gotcha. All right. Well, let's talk about kind of a surprising announcement that there's going to be a few small balance changes to the game coming in an update later this week. So um, let's talk through these real quick. So there's going to be 4 characters getting some changes. Thor is getting a quality of life change. Awakening Rune is now going to be cancelable. You can manually cancel his awakened state after a brief delay. Seth, our resident Thor player, is this something that he needed?
Yeah, I always like find myself when I'm playing Thor. I'm like, I really wish I could cancel this. It would like it would be nice to be able to like jump into a throw if you need to escape something. You're kind of just locked into it for 5 seconds or however long the timer is. So yeah, this is a welcome change. I feel like he's just getting better and better. This is the season of Thor for me. So yeah, I'm totally down.
And then we've got 3 duelist changes. 2 of these are buffs, one's a nerf. Moon Knight is getting an increase to his base health from 250 to 275. Star Lord is getting a reduction to his damage fall off at 25 meters from 60% to 65%. And then Storm is getting an increase to the energy cost for her ultimate from 3,100 to 3,400. And she's also going to get another kind of side nerf with her team up with Jeff that we'll talk about here in just a second. Did Moon Knight? Did any of the? I mean, the Storm one makes sense because that ult combo has been really annoying to deal with, and I feel like the Storm Jeff thing has been very, very, very common. So probably more common than they thought it was maybe going to be. So I
Mhm.
think that one makes sense. I don't think the Moon Knight or the Star Lord one make any sense. Do you?
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I don't know. I don't really see the logic at first glance, but I'm sure there's got to be something I'm missing behind that. His survivability gets a slight boost. Like I don't know, he's pretty tough to get to in a lot of ways. He's got a lot of movability too, and so it's only 25 points, whatever. The damage fall off on Star Lord's guns. I mean, he's pretty tough. He's like, I'm always on the lookout for him. So I guess I'm going to be looking out extra hard in the next few weeks leading up to season 3.
Yeah, the Moon Knight one's weird just because, like you said, he's got a lot of movement abilities. He also gets, health back when he lands his little like secondary fire ability as well. So yeah, that one's odd. I do think that the Star Lord one is probably just they felt like they did a little too much to him when they nerfed him in the last patch, but
Maybe, yeah.
so yeah, I don't know. And then yeah, 3 team up abilities are getting some adjustments here. So chilling assault, the ice arrow adjustment, the reduced damage from 30 to 25, and then reduces the stun duration for enemies hit beyond 30 meters from 1.5 to 0.8 seconds, and the spell field damage range from 3 meters to 1 meter. So a lot of nerfs there to the ice arrow ability, which is actually something I don't see that often being utilized. I see a lot of just like Jeff Ultron when I'm playing.
Yeah, that's kind of what I see, and a lot of the times I'm part of that too. So whatever, but um, yeah, I mean they seem pretty popular, and it's working now that people I think are figuring out Ultron a little bit more. But of course, some have yet to quite get there.
Then Jeff NATO is getting a bit of a nerf, increasing the time required to devour enemies from 1.2 seconds to 1.5 seconds. You've been playing a lot more Jeff, Seth. What do you think about that?
Yes. What was it again? The exact numbers?
It's just like a 0.3 second increase to devour enemies
Okay.
to chew his food in the Sharknado.
Where I'm still fairly new to Jeff, or where I'm kind of coming back to him after not playing him since the game launched. I'm not the best at catching people with this ult, and it's only 0.3 seconds. So I mean, it's not that huge a deal, but you've got to really know when to launch that ult, and you've got to kind of time out. Like you've got to be on the lookout for mag shields or mag bubbles or Hulk bubbles or whatever. So it's not great news for me or maybe for Jeff in particular, but again, it could definitely be worse. But as we've talked about before, like you already know that Swallowren's coming from a mile away. So this just kind of makes it that much harder to pull off effectively. But whatever. We'll see how it feels.
And then the final one is Rocket Network is getting a bit of a nerf as well. Increased armor, Spider Nest cooldown from 20 seconds to 30 seconds. Um, so yeah, those are the changes coming. I mean, I guess we did get sort of a mid patch balance change in season 2 because we had like the Captain America survivability nerf and stuff like that. So I guess this isn't totally out of left field, but um, I'd love to see the logic behind how they pick like who's gonna get get the attention. Like the Thor thing is just like a quality of life thing. I don't know how much it's gonna change or really make a difference in terms of like win rate or anything like that. But like the Moon Knight and Star Lord just don't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, I'm not totally convinced, but again, maybe they're onto something. We'll see it in action here soon.
For sure. Um, so I've been using this this Rivals Leaks subreddit to get some interesting stuff for us to talk about, and I want to talk about this stuff not necessarily because I think it's so much as newsworthy as I think it's just it creates interesting stuff for us to talk about in terms of just things that could come to the game that might have come to the game, things like that. So we're gonna talk about. We'll just maybe it's a different segment than news, but this is like the leaks segment we'll go through, and I'll pull out a couple leaks from that subreddit that were interesting from the previous week. And we'll start with this first one, and I think both of these are from the same user. This is from Rivals Psylocke. And It says there was an unused endorsement system. This was a feature called credit that never made it in. It would have let you endorse your teammates after matches, kind of like Overwatch 2. The more credit you had, the higher your level, and your name, color, and badge would change. And here's the 6 badges that you had: dishonorable, questionable, reliable, honorable, distinguished, irreproachable.
I'm torn on how to feel about this. I like what's by the way, if you did you read any of the comments on this?
No, I didn't.
The first one that I see is could have used titles from the comics, and I really like the idea of this, like irredeemable, infamous, amazing, uncanny. Some of those like to come from the titles of some of these
Mm,
comics. So I like
mhm.
that idea from Sorel Haas or something like that. I'm torn because, like, in theory, this is awesome. This, kind of like we've mentioned, like maybe instead of putting people into their own private hells or whatever, like in like putting levers into levers queues, putting toxic into toxic queues, that kind of thing. This is cool, like to be able to kind of know what you're looking at. At the same time, I feel like it's easy to get around, or like I feel like people could just kind of like what's the word, like when you're doing it intentionally but unwarranted, like somebody like we talked about Ninja last week, right? If a bunch of people teamed up and decided they wanted to,
Oh,
every
yeah.
time they
It'd
see
just be easy
Ninja's
to
name,
grief
they could
somebody.
just
Yeah.
yeah, okay, grief, yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. So like I see a lot of potential for something like that with this, but I mean really that's probably only relevant for more famous people like streamers and that kind of thing, so influencers or whatever. So I like the idea in theory, but again, like I feel like there'd have to be some kind of system in place to make sure that that can't happen, or that it's at least hard to make that happen.
Yeah, I feel like it would have to be some sort of like algorithm driven kind of deal when it comes to how it determines what badge to give you. This is actually really, I mean, this is common. So, my background is in marketing, right? and one of the things that I used to do before I got into gaming was I did local SEO, search engine optimization. And a big thing for local businesses is their Google rating, right? So how many stars do they have on Google? Um, and you try to tell people that, like, I would always tell clients, you're far more likely to get a bad review from a bad experience than you are a good review from a good experience, right? Like, um,
Hmm.
and so you have to really try to incentivize and encourage people who have had good experiences with your company to go and leave a positive review, because generally when something goes well, your first thought isn't, I'm going to go back to Google and talk about how amazing this was. But when something goes awry, your first thought is, I'm going to go to Google and leave this shit company a 1 star, right? And I think the same kind of logic would apply with a system like this, where it's a little more like forward facing, and there's some almost derogatory terms that can be thrown out to you, like dishonorable or whatever. uh
Yeah, that's kind of why I like the idea of the Marvel, like the Marvel-y names,
mhm.
as opposed to uh dishonorable, questionable. Is kind of like, oh, what the hell does that mean?
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, what makes somebody irreproachable, right? Like, is that somebody who has to be like talking positively in game, like doing great call outs and all that sort of stuff? Like, how do you balance the people who are just gonna only downvote people but never upvote people who do a good job, and stuff like that? So I love the idea of a sort of like honor system or whatever, but how does it impact matchmaking, and how do you make sure that it kind of accounts for the human element, that the loudest, like the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? Like, the people who have the bad experience are the ones that are going to be leaving the feedback on people. So,
Hmm.
um, but yeah, I do think that you could use something like that as like sort of another kind of data point for matchmaking, though, where it's like, we're going to try to match make people who are positive impacts on the community with other people who are positive impacts on the community, especially in a game like this where there's so many people playing at any given time. You can have more data points to reference when matchmaking.
Makes sense.
Because the other thing is, I would not want this to be seen like right when you get in, right?
Yeah, true.
Like this is something that I think you would want to see after the game or something like that. Like, because I don't want to log in and it just be like, fuck, I've got 3 dishonorables on my team. I guess this game is just lost already,
Yeah.
All right. Next leak, also from Rival Psylocke over on the Marvel Rivals Leaks subreddit, posted by Sam Buster 99999. Says, according to Rival Psylocke, unused voice lines found for anti-heal, which could allude to an unreleased character with an anti-heal kit. And the tweet reads, another interesting thing we found is that some characters have voice lines for anti-heal. On Fire voice lines also exist, but they don't have any audio or text. These are most likely from early development or a future hero. Examples from The Thing and Captain America. And here's the anti-heal lines: not healing for some reason, or my health ain't coming back. And then they show an example of the On Fire blank voice lines with just some reference numbers. I pray to God that this game does not get anti-heal, or it at least does not get some sort of like consistent anti-heal, like an Ana nade or something like that. Because I don't know, it's just not a fun mechanic to play into. Did you play in Overwatch much when Ana was?
Yeah, I was still into it when Anna, because she was like what, one of the first new
Yeah.
heroes that launched, like post launch. So I remember that, and I mean, of course, it's inconvenient. I don't feel like hers, at least like at the point time when I was playing, like I feel like it was limited enough to where it wasn't necessarily like a game breaker or game changer. I feel like they already have this to a degree, but it's super specific to Strange,
Mhm.
because he can get into that anti-heal state, but that's again just one character in one specific circumstance. If they forget to purge themselves or whatever, if they forget to click a button every so often. So I don't know. As long as it's not like you can do it for a whole team or anything like that, I don't necessarily see a problem with it. Or if you could do it for a whole team, make it super limited, like a almost like a Strange portal cooldown or something like that. Super brief, enough to change the tide in a fight, but not enough to break the game. If that makes sense.
Yeah, there were a lot of factors that kind of coalesced into what made goats goats, but anti-heal was one of the things that, and like the Ana nade was one of the things that was a factor in that, right? Um, and also the anti-heal disproportionately impacts tank players, because especially if it's something that's like a skill shot or something like that, it's always going to make more sense to try to anti-heal the tank that's right in front of you, who the healers are pumping health into, to try to burst them down, than it is to try to land that skill shot on a smaller character who's a lot harder to hit. So in a game where it's already hard to get people to want to play tank, anti-heal is only going to disincentivize people to play that role even more. So uh I agree, if it's something that they're going to put in the game, it needs to be something that's like either a really hard skill shot to hit, or something that's on like a ridiculously large cooldown attached to some sort of an ult, not a full anti-heal where it's just like I'm not able to heal at all. Maybe it's like 50% reduction, 40%, like some sort of reduction in healing or something like that, rather than just how Anna nade works, where it's like can't be healed at all now for X amount of seconds.
Yeah, yeah, I like the idea of something like that too. I do agree. I think that people are probably looking for an excuse to pop off and chat about how they're not getting heals or something like that. But it may, I don't know. Maybe just consider you're playing the game all wrong.
For sure. And I also, if they do an anti-heal, I would want them to also have some sort of a mechanic that counters anti-heal. Like, is there is there a character that does like over health? Is there, you know, can we have more characters like Ultron who can give you, that like shield briefly if you
Mhm.
are, anti-healed, to where it's like we have this secondary option where it's like if we're running into anti-heal. Because the other thing is like when you add an anti-heal that's like attached to just a specific character, you just add more to that kind of rock paper scissors element to the game, right? Where it's like, okay, well, they're running that character that has anti heal. Now I've got to run the counter character that runs the thing that kind of counters the anti heal. So if you're thinking about Overwatch, right, the whole when somebody was running an Ana, the thought was, well, damn, now I've got to run like Diva or Zarya, something that can like cleanse the anti heal. And so it's just not a very fun mechanic to like see a character and say, "Oh, well, I see that character now. That means my team has to do this thing, or we're just going to lose." Right? So,
How would Diva mitigate anti-heal? I don't remember that.
uh, just defense matrix being able to eat nade.
Okay, gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah. So, so yeah, I just think it's a really hard mechanic to do well. So I hope my thing is I would just hope we don't have it at all. Not like don't even introduce it because I don't know if Overwatch does it right still,
Mm.
and that's just because I
Yeah, I
like
don't
my
know.
tank.
True. I don't know. If it's coming, I hope that it's at least a long way away. You don't want people striking again. Hitting the streets over Marvel
Hmm.
Rivals. Let it. It just needs to grow, and that's probably going to take us into our next topic too, right?
Yeah, we can jump into our next topic, which is just I think we've talked a lot about which is our topic of the show. We've talked a lot about is Marvel Rivals dying, which I think we both agree it's not. Is Marvel Rivals too toxic, which I think we both agree it's not too toxic. But I don't want us to just constantly be negative Nancy's about the game. I want us to be constructive about the game. And so, we're what, 6 months into 7 months into this game being out now. What do we need to see from Marvel Rivals to kind of have that staying power over the long haul? Overwatch is celebrating its 10th year, I think, this year or something like that.
Oh my God, I can't believe it.
Yeah, which is crazy. People have been playing Dota for well over a decade, League of Legends for well over a decade. What does Marvel Rivals have to do to what are they doing right now that you think is like, hey, this is helping them? And what are some things that you think they need to start doing?
This is probably not the hottest, spiciest take out there. I love what they're doing. I think that they I I I think back to, like, Overwatch when they were at this phase of existence. I still can't believe it's been, like, 6, 7 months since this game launched. It seems like time has just flown, but time flies when you're having fun, right? I, um I love everything that they're doing. I think that compared to Overwatch, like, if you recall, they released new content, but, it was definitely more sporadic. Everything was locked behind loot boxes, and that was a whole discussion in the gaming community at that time. I love like just it's frenetic, like, and it's not chaotic necessarily, but like you've got just constantly you're getting a deluge of stuff just kind of thrown at you, that you don't have to take or that you don't have to do. You can interact or engage with the game however you want to, but they're just constantly giving you opportunities to do things differently or play differently or to get new stuff in the game. So I love how much we're getting and how I don't necessarily even want more because it's difficult enough to keep up with as it is. I think back to Halo as they kind of moved into the live service game with their battle passes and stuff like that. And a lot of the times they just get boring because you either finish it up super early or you just maybe the community just isn't that much fun to play with as well. And Say all you want about the Marvel Rivals community. I love the idea that like I can choose to disengage with the community and just enjoy the game. And yeah, I don't have to like. Yeah, I could just play the battle pass and do those challenges. I could just interact with the free version or the free event passes and stuff like that. But I mean, we've constant like every other week it seems like we're getting some kind of pickup bundle, some kind of mini battle pass. You're getting events that are free in the meantime or have paid versions of them that are just a few dollars or nothing that's going to break the bank. So I'm just again like that's the whole reason we have this podcast, right? Like I have not had a game that has spoken to me in this way or that I just really vibe with and want to come back to like day after day after day for this long. And so I love everything that they're doing. I love the competitive scene that they have, that they're kind of still in the early phases of working through. We haven't really talked a lot about Ignite so far, but I don't I don't know that I want to see anything different from them. And I've been talking for a long time now, but again, I don't really know what else to say other than like, keep doing what you're doing. We're about to get more stuff even quicker starting in season 3 here in a few weeks. It's it, it, it's but also at the same time, I guess I should end with I don't feel like I felt with Destiny where it was a full-time job. Like
Mhm.
in order to get what you want out of the game. I'm not fighting random number generators to get loot. And so I'm not repeating the same exact thing over and over again. We're constantly getting new maps. We're constantly getting new people. Keep it up, Eddie's. Bravo.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I agree for the most part with what you're saying. I think the things that they're doing, I think they're doing well. Like it's clear that with a free to play game, they've got to figure out ways to monetize that game, and I think that there's ways to do that in a tasteless way, and I think that there's ways to do that in a tasteful way, and I think that Rivals does it in a way that's somewhere in the middle, right? Like they there's always kind of some sort of trinket to buy here, and there's always some sort of like new thing popping up, but I never feel like I'm being nickel and dimed or like I'm missing out on something if I'm not, gonna buy this certain thing. And the stuff that they put out, $5 for that bundle where it's like 7 tiers and you get 14 different things in the game and 3 skins. Like, I don't know. It feels like you get some value out of. I was trying to put them on the back of my chair. Um,
How's
it,
that cat's ass smell?
um, but you try to. I feel like you get value out of the things that you're purchasing, right? Like, so I think that that's good. There are some things though that I hope that they if I could sit down with Rivals and have a list of some things that I'm like, here's my advice as somebody who knows shit about shit. Um, Number one would be slow down on listening to the community. I think sometimes they're a little like quick to take the like loudest reaction of the community and let that be the guiding light for the things that they want to do. And in the moment, it gets like a really great reaction from people because it's like, look, NetEase is listening to us. But on the other hand, I think it creates like, dude, this cat's driving me crazy. Um, it, but I think on the other hand, like I think it creates some sort of rash decisions. And I think if you listen too quickly, you might start to kind of lose the vision that you initially laid out. And I'm a little worried about the speed that we're about to get new content. I'm a little worried about these like month-long half seasons that we're going to be getting because it's like, was this the original vision of the game, or is this something that they feel like they need to do in order to keep the community engaged? Right? Like, are they kind of getting out ahead of their skis in a way? You know?
Yeah, I think I wouldn't call it like a nightmare. Again, it's just a game at the end of the day. But I have this like fear somewhere deep in me that like this isn't sustainable, and I think we've spoken to it on the show before. But like how again, like you've got to eventually reach this point where you start just kind of running into the same character over and over again. You're gonna keep Like you're going to run out of different locations to travel to. And again, there are so many in the Marvel universe. But like again, if you look at one of those posters with all the hundreds of Marvel characters that are out there, like there are like five people that have the exact same powers repeated over and over again, right? The same abilities or something very, very similar. They almost might be dressed the same way, the same size, the same, whatever. So I don't know, like if we're getting a new somebody and a new someplace every month, how long can that stay sustainable? And I would love to see it go, forever and ever. But I'm just like in the back of my mind, I'm like, do one day do they just call it quits and say, well, we're done now. It's the game is dead, or like we call it. I've played enough of those games, the Friday the 13th and the other games that just kind of like disappear, which of course didn't used to be a thing before live service came around. But like, I don't know, I kind of just have that dread in the back of my mind of what could happen. But again, like I feel like this game's still on top of the world in a lot of
Mhm.
ways. It might not be what everybody's playing right now. It might not be like the height of the zeitgeist, but like it's still pretty popular to me. I still hear kids in high school hallways talking about Marvel Rivals, how they love it, how they hate it, how they can't seem to get good at it, or something like it. It's still out there, which is something special. I think again, like a lot of the time, gaming is there's so much going on and so much coming out that something gets talked about for a couple weeks and then it gets dropped. They might not be posting news stories on Polygon or Kotaku or whatever about it all the time, but it's still out there. It's got a great competitive scene so far. It's got potential.
Yeah, they've kind of overcome that hurdle already where it's like, hey, in those initial days, you have to have your polygons, Kotakus, your IGNs covering everything that you do until you kind of establish your subreddits and your, like your niche community that's going to kind of keep the game going for years and years to come. Because yeah, new seasons drop and those outlets are going to come back and stuff like that, but you need people who are going to get excited about, you know Venom shaking his pink bubblegum ass on
He's
people.
gonna be twerking, just popping gum. He's a fucking diva, is what
He
he
is, he
is.
is. um the other thing that I hope Rivals does uh is not, I'm trying to figure out the way that I want to put this. Like, I hope the experimentation finds its way into ranked and competitive, to the point where it's like ranked and competitive doesn't kind of become this walled off garden where it's like, hey, this is the way that ranked and competitive is, and all of the creative stuff that we're going to do with the game comes outside of that. And I just think about how, like, we're 2.5 seasons into the game now, and we have three modes that you can play in ranked. You've got your convoy, you've got your convergence, and you've got your domination maps. And it's like, I would like to see them be a little bit more creative in the style of maps that we have, like uh, the game modes that we have to play with. Overwatch added in that one where you like capture different points on the same map, like as you're playing. Over time, they added like the push map and stuff like that. And I know different people feel different ways about those kinds of things. There was like 2CP in the early days of Overwatch 1 and stuff like that. And I just hope that, like, we don't get into this kind of traditionalist sense with ranked, where it's like these are the three ranked modes. That's going to be the three ranked modes, and when we're in season 20, those are still the three ranked modes. Like, let's experiment and give us new stuff to play in that mode as well to get excited about.
Yeah, I agree.
Um, and then yeah, I think figuring out creative ways to like get around the community. I think we've been begging for that button that keeps people as a team together. I think
Mm.
that's a good way to do it. Like, hey, you find good
It's
teammates
gotta
to play
come
with.
someday. It's gotta be out there somewhere. Like NetEase, if you're listening, now's the time. The
Hmm.
time was yesterday.
Yeah. And cross progression, stuff like that. I hope are things that come as well. But yeah, I'm with you though, Seth. I hope we don't get to this point where it's just like breakneck speed, constantly pushing the envelope to get new characters out, and we get a year down the road and it's like, man, this character feels a lot like the character we got in season 4, you know. But time will tell. Time will tell. Anything else you want to see from him?
Um, yeah, nothing. I think before I keep coming up with more stuff to do, I would like to see what I really want. It's mainly that button. What else we talked about before? And the button's the big thing that pops out to me right now, but that would just make competitive or quick play so much smoother. But I don't know. I mean, you could list things until the cows come home, but at the end of the day, I'm pretty happy with what we have.
For sure. All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for Rival Banter. Let us know what you want to see from the game in order for it to be here for the long haul. But also, let us know your Marvel Rivals hot takes for the hot take episode we're going to be recording next week as well. Drop those in the comments of this episode. But we're going to wrap things up and get out of here. Seth, what are you trying to get to in game this week?
I'm going to. So I have made like Mondo progress on Jeff working towards lordship. I am going to try to shoot for that. It may be kind of a stretch. I'm getting closer and closer to Centurion with him already, and I've only really been grinding Jeff for like a week, and not playing wild hours every day. So we'll see. I definitely like let's just well, I know you're moving. Your game just launched. You've got a bunch of stuff going on. If you
Oh
can
no,
make
I
some
can play
time
now.
to work
I,
with
I
me.
I got like a week where I can play, so we're good.
Okay. So yeah, let's make some time for comp before we run out of time for the season and just make it fucking happen and do the thing. Let's at least get to plat so we can nickname this plat chat if we need to.
Let's do it. Yeah. All right. So we'll play. Yeah, we'll play some ranked and yeah. I want to play more different tanks to figure out like okay, I've got my Emma Lord. What other tanks do I want to work on my Lord for? I mean, I'm whatever's before Centurion. That's what I have on Mag right now. So, but I kind of want to play Hulk. I want to get good on Strange. So um, so yeah, I think those are my goals. But all right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for episode 17 of Rival Banter. We appreciate everybody tuning in this week. Wherever you're listening to us, make sure you're following, liking, leaving us comments, and all that stuff. And until next week, good luck in your games, and we will see you next Tuesday. We'll be back on our regular schedule. Goodbye.